So we completely redesigned the journey, implemented a new release, and then the fairly demand that was coming into the contact centre reduced from 26% of all mortgage queries to less than 1%, almost overnight.
Today I'm joined by Michael Sherwood, Head of Digital Experience at Atom Bank. Atom Bank recently redesigned large parts of their platform, and today we're going to talk to Michael about this redesign, what they've changed and why, and what they're hoping to take the products in the future. So Michael, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for inviting me, Tunde.
Absolute pleasure to have you. So firstly, could we just get the users accustomed to what Atom Bank is? Tell us about.
Yeah, so we went live to the public. We were the first digital bank to go live to the public in 2016. April 2016 was when we first launched. And we offer predominantly savings and mortgage products to customers via our app. We're based up in Durham, in the northeast of England. And we've gone from strength to strength over the last few years to a point where we're at almost kind of 400 people strong. We've taken in a couple of £1 billion worth of deposits. Since going live in 2016 from savings customers, and then we've lent a similar amount out by way of mortgages.
Wow. And then how would you say you're different from similar products in your space?
Well, we were the first to offer a fully digital app-based financial service via the savings product. I truly believe that our savings and mortgage products are the best in the world. And our customers are, and the number of customers and the amount of money that we've taken in from customers, and the ratings that we get on Trustpilot, etc., would support that.
Sweet. And I guess to get a bit more of an insight into how you guys as a company work, how are your product and design teams split at Atom?
So in terms of the product area, so we've got, I guess you would call it a propositions area. We all sit within the marketing department. So we've got the propositions guys who spend a lot of time researching trends and customer needs. That then flows through into a set of requirements that we pick up from a UX perspective. I've got a fantastic team, 5 in the team, and that's split via UX and UI and also visual design. So the UX guys will design the journeys, working very closely with customers. We've got a customer panel of real life unpaid customers. We've got over 100 on our panel. So we then go and design the journeys accordingly in conjunction with customers to make sure that they're simple and easy and straightforward. We then hand those over to our visual design area. So Liam's our lead UX, Liam Dexter, and Ian Gifford is our lead visual designer. And then he sprinkles the magic over it, and then we get together with the dev team and the tech guys, and then we go build.
Okay. I guess a few points. Interesting you say that that's all under marketing.
Yeah.
Why would you put that under marketing?
Because we want to be as close to the customer as possible. My area is responsible for 3 things, and I'm deliberately going to say this first, which is customer insight and customer intelligence, if you like. We take the intelligence that we get from customers and then we work that through to inform our product design and our proposition design and our visual designs. And then we take that information and produce digital experiences that we know customers are going to love because it's built back from them. It's very outside in.
That's actually pretty interesting, and it's a process that we on the team are currently working through ourselves now. So could you kind of like flesh out what that process is from a customer insight first process all the way to build? Are your sprints, how would you prioritize your feature, your backlog, your idea backlog based on your customer insights?
Yeah, of course. I guess the best thing to do is to split it into 2. So we've got experiences that we've already designed and that are in place. And the first step, if you like, in the process is to understand the things that matter to customers. So we have a number of different routes to understand the things that matter most. So we have bunch of surveys, for example, that we'll send out and collect insight through those. We spend a lot of time one-on-one with customers in terms of qual-based research, and we use a number of different partners to help us conduct the qual-based research. 11FS is one of them, but also we work with a number of other brilliant companies such as Foolproof, etc. So that's the first step of the journey, which is to understand the things that matter most to customers. Then we measure the things that matter. So we have a number of different voice of the customer touch points. So we've got Trustpilot, Review, we send out bespoke surveys, we've got feedback in the app, we've got App Store reviews. We also track every single reason for contact that comes into the contact center. And then we suck all that wonderful insight into a tool that we use called Thematic, which takes all the customer data and then helps us prioritize in terms of themes. So we can see, the type and frequency of the demands that are coming in. We also look at emotion and sentiment. So basically, we take the things that customers are telling us are the things that matter most, but have negative sentiment attached to them. We look at the volume and say, right, what are the issues that have got the high amount of volume with poor sentiment, and then we take that information and we use that to prioritize. So that's step 2. And then step 3 is we make the things that matter most to customers better. And then we take the prioritized set of features or whatever it might be, and then we work that through the change process. So we get together with our change team. We've got a group called the Customer Experience Action Group, who meet on a fortnightly basis to talk through the insights. Right, what are the things that are bubbling to the top? What do we need to go and implement, and in what order? So then we get together with the dev team, and then we go and optimize, I guess, and put those changes in place. And then we continue the circle. So we then go and look at the measures and to say, right, we might have put a new feature in. For example, I've got lots of examples, but one is customers were telling us that they were finding it difficult to find their mortgage offer in the app. And it was bubbling to the top, and obviously accepting your mortgage offer, purchasing a house is pretty important, right? It's, your biggest financial purchase ever. So we took that insight and said, right, it matters so much. It's a really, really important part of the journey. There's a lot of noise coming from customers saying it's not easy to find. So we completely redesigned the journey, implemented a new release, and then the fairly demand that was coming into the contact center reduced from 26% of all mortgage queries to less than 1% almost overnight. So that gives you an example. And there's a couple of, in terms of that approach, not only does it deliver what customers tell us that needs to be improved, but also it reduces cost into the business because they're contacts that people aren't having to answer in the contact center.
And it's interesting you bring up that mortgage point, because it's something I was going to bring up when we jump into the journey, so it would be good to kind of deep dive into that. But I think that's actually really interesting, the way you've kind of gone around solving that problem as well.
Well, in terms of the approach, that approach that I've just articulated there is something that we've had in place since we went live in 2016, and we've constantly been optimizing app 1.0 as it was, but we got to a point where it was clear that we couldn't optimize app 1.0 anymore, and it was time to go rebuild. Now app 1.0 has served as well. I guess you would call it our concept album, and we are proud of it, but it was starting to look a bit dated. We were getting feedback around the UI and the visual design to say, the bubbles are not working for some people. And we got to a point where we said, right, and it was also built in Unity, so built in gaming codes, and it was just a little bit ahead of its time, I would say. So it was time for a rethink, and it was time to wave goodbye to app 1.0 and time to redesign a new native app.
Interesting. And I think something else we wanted to understand as well is there a particular demographic you guys aim for, or is it just anybody who wants to save or get a mortgage?
No, there's no demographic. To give you an example, so our eldest customer is 100. So we have to, a very simple set of I guess, principles that we've got, which is make our app really simple, really easy, and really straightforward to use. And then regardless of whether you are tech savvy or it's the first time that you've interacted with a digital product in your life and you're 85 years old and looking to put away some savings, then you'll be able to use it. And that's how we go about our business.
Okay. And you touched a bit earlier on sort of having to like redesign bits and parts of your app. Could we talk about, I guess, more from a top level view, why that need came about, and what particularly was redesigned and what wasn't redesigned, and why you chose those paths?
Yeah, so like I was saying earlier, it's been a process, that's evolved over the last few years. So we got to a position where we said, from an optimization perspective, we can't optimize what was App 1.0 anymore. And then we discussed internally and said, right, okay, let's go rebuild the thing. We're going to go native, and we're going to build the app truly back from our customers. So we spent a lot of time coming up with the initial designs and the look feel, and that went through an evolutionary process, working with Foolproof and 11FS and using the Pulse tool to understand what brilliant looked like, and stealing with pride from various different areas, and then taking all the good stuff and implementing those into the journeys and the way that the app looks and feels from a UI perspective. But then, even though we thought, right, okay, well, this is starting to look pretty good, we still weren't, going to rest on our laurels. So we went back out to the customer panel and refined again, and then went through an internal beta process, and a kind of family and friends piece to understand what they thought, refined again, and then got to a point where we were happy that, right, this is something that customers are going to like, perhaps love. And then made the decision to go rebuild it in native code using Swift. So there's still lots and lots of work to do. This is the start point. The way I would describe App 2.0 is it's a springboard. If App 1.0 was a bit of a concept album, this is Ed Sheeran's Divide, right? It's aimed at everybody. And something else I wanted to pick on, because it's something that we've personally had conversations with clients about. You're talking about picking out sort of the best bits from apps you've seen on Pulse. Something that we hear often is people they're not trying to recreate the standard, what we see out there now. They're trying to like push beyond that. So how did you find yourself, I guess, steering away from basically just copying what you see there? And at what points did you find yourself having to, I guess, say no to a certain design pattern that might be popular and actually really sort of break the mold and create something new? Yeah, it's a good question, that. So the initial design had this kind of wave feel about it, and had like a wave that was moving at the top, and kind of, when we looked and looked a bit further afield, actually, that had already been implemented. So we're like, no, the wave's got to go. So the wave disappeared. Actually, it was making people feel sick as well, which wasn't great. So we said, right, no, the wave's got to go. But in terms of us kind of being unique, Atom's got a reputation for being unique. People either loved or hated App 1.0 with the bubbles and the circles, and it was very, very different. So we wanted to make the app look and feel like Atom. So we made sure that we kept, the lozenges are still there. The Atom A still goes through there in terms of the spinner. So we've kept the unique brand features, but made the UI using the cards really, really simple and straightforward and easy to use. The gradient as well and the color palette is something that we've taken from internal brand colors. I guess that's probably one of the biggest changes is, I mentioned earlier the optimization piece. We had a lot of customers when we initially went out with the new designs for 2.0 in testing. We still had the personalized colors. So with 1.0, when you registered and signed up, you got a set of unique colors. But when we implemented that into the first designs for 2.0, but actually we went out and customers, both existing and potential customers, said that they didn't like the personalized color scheme. And that was a big thing for us. So we said, okay, and it was only 2 customers as part of the qual-based piece, but we said, right, and they were kind of violently against it. They were saying, no, it's a bit gimmicky, and what I don't like is I go from one set of atom colours to a set of what are supposed to be personalised colours for me, and then some of the documentation that I get is in atom colours, and it's confusing. And actually, it could feel like Jeanette, she was called, said it's part of, it feels like I'm part of a different bank, and that I'm moving from one bank to another bank, and it was actually impacting trust.
Wow.
So we took that data and then we asked a series of questions back to our existing customers via the customer panel around the personalised colour scheme. And it came out that, cut a long story short, 80% of existing customers, when we asked them the question, how would you feel if we removed the personalised colours, said they were either nonplussed or not bothered, and some of them were just like, well, I've never even used them. So that was a real moment for us in terms of the visual design and the colour palette, because we didn't have to cater for what was actually 3 billion different variations on the brand. And that was great for our lead visual designer, Ian Gifford, because he was like, right, okay, I can now start building some brand momentum and value based upon one colour palette that can then start to flow through not just the app, but Atom as a brand, through the website, through our social media feeds, everything that we do. So that was a huge moment for the bank.
Nice. I'm like really taken aback and impressed with how like customer-centric, it's something we hear in design always, but to kind of see a process that is truly customer-centric, I mean, to the point where you can even name customers that have given pieces of feedback, I'm really impressed.
Well, it's been a labour of love, and I guess that's probably the phrase I would use, but also, we're obsessed with customers, not in a creepy way, but we are absolutely obsessed with what they think and what they say and what they feel. The Voice of the Customer programme that we've put in place is award-winning. We won a silver medal at the European Contact Centre and Customer Service Awards in 2018. And for a small bank like us to win a European-wide award for being focused on customers was huge for us. But also in terms of what Atom stands for, our raison d'etre is to be, our vision, our mission, whatever you want to call it, is to be the most customer-centric bank on the planet. So that drives everything we do internally, and that's why we've invested a lot of money in a Voice of the Customer programme that we can be proud of. But actually, it's not really an investment, because it helps us make the right decisions at the right time. So it actually saves us money.
Wow, impressive. So I mean, we've heard a lot about what's been going on. So I guess like next thing to do is to jump into some journeys and walk through some of these decisions. So the first one would be the Fix Savers onboarding journey. So what we'll have here is someone logging into the app as a new customer. They are then greeted with the option to get a mortgage or a fixed saver account. They choose fixed saver, and then at this point it calculates the amount they want to save. Yeah,
so this gives customers the option back to, I don't know whether you can pause that while I'm yakking on, but customers said, we want to understand how Atom works. So we've got a lot of FUEs there, for those who don't know what that means, the first-time user experiences. So people can see, right, okay, this is what they're going to be expected to do. Some signposting up front that says this is what we expect, and this is what you can expect. And then you click on start and you start the journey. And the other thing customers said was, right, I want to understand, from a savings perspective, the thing that matters most is how much money am I going to earn from my savings, right? So that's where we're into the calculator that says, right, you can have a play around, really, and you've got the products there underneath, and then you can put in how much you're gonna save. You can decide really quickly where it is you're going to pay the interest away to. Are you going to pay it to an external account, or do you want to actually just keep it in your fixed saver? And then you can scroll to the left and swipe to the left, and you've got all the different products there that you can see really easy and simply.
Nice. And then after you choose that, you then jumped into registration. And then we go through, I guess, your generic kind of registration process. Something that was interesting was that you have terms and conditions up front
Yeah.
as well. Was there a particular reason as to why you guys chose to have that up front?
That's a bit of an overhang from 1.0. We will be looking to move that away from it being the first thing that you see.
Yeah.
It's something that bugs me, to be honest. It's the first thing you see, and it's something that will be changing.
Because we've had feedback on some of the projects we've worked on where clients have said that users want to be insured up front, and I think it was more pertaining to privacy policy actually, but they wanted to be insured up front that the things they're signing up for, they can see like a clear overview.
Well, we've got different T's and C's. So they're just app T's and C's.
Okay.
Right, but in terms of product T's and C's, they're really, really clear.
Okay.
Super clear at the end.
Okay.
We'll come on to those, but what I'm referring to there is just the app T's and C's, which you know, can be included elsewhere. It's just as soon as you open the app, it's the first thing you see.
Yeah.
You know, some customers may like it, some customers might not, but I know from a personal perspective, I want to be greeted by the Atom brand rather than just some white T's and C's.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
And then we're taken to a part that after you complete your registration, you're then asked to enter your mortgage code. I wanted to know, where is that mortgage code sent? Is that, and at what point is it sent to you?
Yeah, it goes to your email address, and you know that's immediate.
Okay.
And then once you've got that, then you can continue on the journey.
Okay, and there's also an option to say I'll do this later. So if you do click that, does that mean does that jump you out of the journey, or does that mean you can continue with the journey?
Yeah, so it closes the app down, but it saves
your
to
process.
the point. So when you come back in, it takes you directly to where you left off, so you're not having to re-input everything.
Okay, and then the next up we have the app security function, which allows you to create some passcode, create your 6-digit passcode, and then after that, I believe it takes you into the Face ID. Yep. First and foremost, tone of voice. I think it's like really witty. I wanted to ask, how would you say Atom's tone of voice, Atom Bank's personality is, if you were to kind of like personify it?
Balanced. I'd say it's for everybody. We've toned it down a little bit actually from 1.0. Customers were telling us it was maybe a little bit too playful.
Okay.
You know, at the end of the day, this is banking, and it's people's life savings. So, you know, treat it as such, but don't be kind of too stuffy and over professional.
Yeah.
So we feel like we've found a nice middle ground where it's friendly but not over familiar.
Yeah. And would you say that wittiness kind of made it a bit untrustworthy? From the version
from 1.0, perhaps, yeah. Perhaps for some, not for everybody. Some people loved it, but when we took all the feedback on board, it just needed to be toned down a little bit. But I guess that's the exuberance of youth, you know. We're the first people to do this thing called fintech in the UK.
Yeah.
And we've learnt and we've listened and we've amended along the way.
Well, thank you for going up before us. And with the next part is Face ID. We're always interested to find out what kind of technologies you guys people are using. So popular ones on Fido, and then other people kind of do this in house. So we wanted to know what technology are you guys using for Face ID? Yeah,
so we use a third party. I'm not at liberty to share that information publicly, but we use it for security purposes. But we use a third party. But just in terms of our security proposition and the way that we do what we do and the reasons we do what we do, I don't think is fully understood. But so I'm going to start at the beginning. So the first step in our security is that you have to have a passcode on your device.
Okay.
Or you won't be able to boot the app. So that's the first level of security. Then obviously you go through onboarding, and then we ask you to capture a 6-digit passcode, then face, then voice. And we feel that our proposition is something that customers really, really love, because if you want to just log in, you can use one of the three. But if you have to go and do something, that we then have a step-up process. So we'll invoke 1, 2, maybe all 3.
Okay.
So you've got a layer of security depending on what you need to go and do, and the sensitivity of the things that you're doing within the app.
So could we get an example of things that would require all three?
Yeah, if you're taking your money out,
Okay.
for example,
Okay.
right? So a big chunk of your money, if you're taking a big chunk.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's not widely known in terms of the reasons why we use alternative solutions to device biometrics. If you think about it like this, these are bank locks where obviously you've got Apple who've got their own Face ID, but that's a device lock. One of the reasons we haven't gone down the fingerprint route as well, which we've got quite a bit of stick for, is, you know, I've got 3 kids and all of them have got access to my device via their own fingerprints and stuff, right? So, you know, device biometrics are secure in certain circumstances, but they are device locks. These are bank locks. These are the locks that we've got on the bank itself, and that's the reason that we have the security proposition that we've got.
Okay, and
I think we're, again, in terms of our approach, I think initially there was some raised eyebrows, but with strong customer authentication, I think we've been proved to be, you know, on the customer side in terms of security, and that's why we've got what we've got now. In terms of how we've improved, in terms of our biometrics, so we are for App 2.0, we've upgraded our software from the third party that we use to the latest version. Also, and really important to say from a UI perspective, on App 1.0, the whole experience was slightly gamified in terms of capturing your face. There was no feedback to tell you about the quality of the image. So what we found was some customers would maybe go and the lighting wasn't perfect, or it was a bit fuzzy, and they would register with a less than great quality image, and then would have problems logging in. Right. So what we've done with App 2.0 is we've treated the Face ID capture much like, you know, you would capture a passport photo in a booth. So we make sure that you're in a well-lit room. We give you feedback on the app in terms of the quality of the image to make sure that we've got the best quality we possibly can. So when it comes to logging in, you know, your propensity to log in first time has increased.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, a lot of information to digest there. And then I guess after that, you then go into the voice ID. Quickly on that, is that provided by the same people who handle the Face ID, or is that something that's in-house?
No, again, it's a third party.
And then once all of that process is completed, something that was, I guess, a bit interesting to me is that you have this like welcome to the Atom family screen. And I wanted to know, is at that point the account created?
No, so that's when you have registered. Right, so it's your definition of account. So yes, you are a registered customer. But what we wanted to do, and again, this was based on customer feedback, was to say, because the initial designs didn't have that welcome screen. You just went straight into product application. But customers were like, right, okay, you know, just recognize that I've joined the bank. In App 1.0, we made a huge thing of that, and you had like millions of twirly A's going all over the place and probably over-egged the pudding. So we said, right, we just want to, from a UI perspective and a UX perspective, recognize that there's a step in the journey that's being completed. Welcome customers to the bank with a nice, you know, animation there, but something that's not over-egged, and then you're onto the product.
That was actually
a clear delineation.
That was actually interesting, because it's something we found very recently as well, that often you go through an entire sort of onboarding journey, you kind of never really know where you're at, or you're never really rewarded for kind of doing certain things, and it kind of just offers like a breath of fresh air, like, okay, cool, like I've got somewhere at least, which is pretty interesting as well. And then after that, something I noticed as well is that you then require them to log back in after that stage. Why is that?
That's just because you've now registered your biometrics and your passcode. So from a security perspective, it's like, right, okay, you're now a registered customer. Now you need to log in.
Okay. And I guess after that, you have like identity checks, which is a set of questions. I wanted to firstly ask, where are those questions populated from?
So we've got a number of different providers that we use, and that's where we're basically checking that the person who is registered is the person who they say they are. So we call out to various different places to get that information, and then we go through ID and V, identification and verification process, and then once we know that you are you, we then start the journey in terms of your product
and
journeys.
Is there? Well, I don't know if I saw it myself, but is there a bit where you collect documentation in the journey, or is or is those identity checks kind of work as your identity verification?
No, we don't get. There's no document scanner and passport. Yeah. No, we go out and call from various different other different providers.
Okay. And how does that work? Like, how are your users? Because I mean, it's something we're quite familiar in the Challenger kind of scene. Is that something that users are fine with?
Yeah, absolutely fine. I guess in terms of, I'll bring that to life in terms of customers saying it's fine. Just looking at some comments yesterday, actually, on Trustpilot, we've got one customer saying it's very good for old people. That's all they left. Yeah. Right. This is very good for old people, and it's like, right, okay, perfect. We've got customers there who find it really easy to use and feel like they want to go on Trustpilot and say that it's good for old people to use. It's like, right, okay, take.
Yeah. Okay. That's actually interesting. And then I think the next journey we'll jump into is the offer acceptance login. I think it's a pretty short one. I guess at this point they've registered, they're about to jump into the app, they greet with a home screen and a variety of ways to log in to, and then at that point they're then greeted with their homepage, which is essentially just a card which lets them know that their homepage, that their mortgage offer has been accepted, and then they're able to then jump into and see like a really nice timeline of things that have gone on
that's happened
during their mortgage acceptance, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, so we've had lots of really good feedback from customers, because every notification, every step in the journey is logged there in your timeline, and also you get a really nice notification with some animations there that just advise you either what's happened or what's coming in the future.
I guess to kind of dig a bit more deeper into voice, because you require both voice, you ask both voice and Face ID. How would voice work? Would you click it and then be asked to say something? Yeah. And then you can log in? Yeah.
We've got a single phrase that everybody is asked to register with, and you have to say that phrase. Okay. And it recognises that that's your voice, and then you're allowed into the app.
And where did the need for voice to come in? Was that just another layer, kind of just to add another layer?
Just another layer of security. Okay. Exactly.
And homepage, once again, something we talked about in the beginning of the show, but it's quite minimal. It's actually just very much the task at hand and nothing else on that. So I wanted to ask, why is that? Why not use this homepage as an opportunity to flesh out more functionality? You shared a bit of light on that, but we'd like to deep dive into that.
Yeah, so again, customers said that we've got two products, right? Savings and mortgages. Don't over-egg it. Yeah. Right. Keep it really, really simple for now. But we're building out, a full-service bank. Yeah. And we're here forever, right? So we're just getting started. Yeah. So this is a blank canvas. Something that is, from the customer's perspective, really intuitive and easy to use. But as we go and implement more products as the bank evolves further, we will then flesh out, not only the product side of the business, but also start to weave in stuff that's really useful to customers. I'm really excited about the future. We mentioned that that we've partnered with Thought Machine. Yeah. And we've got lots of brilliant stuff coming over the next year or so. I can't share the detail, but all I'll say is, just for context, we've now got an app which is it's trending at 4.8 stars. Wow. Our overall App Store rating has now increased from 3.6 to 4.4. Wow. Since we've gone live, and we've got the foundations in place from an app perspective to go and do some really nifty and beautiful stuff.
Look forward to that. Look forward to seeing what comes of that. Offer acceptance hub, I guess, is the next journey we'll jump into. So at this point, your mortgage offer has been you've accepted your mortgage offer, and then you're going through sort of the terms that is provided, that you've been offered. You then sort of agree a mortgage You then agree the mortgage terms and conditions, and then this is something that I found interesting as well. This idea of a vault.
Yeah.
Talk me through it. I believe it's a place where all documents are kept.
It is, yeah. So this is, I guess, the term says it all, really, right? This is where we store all your information, your personal information. So you've got your layers of security, but then you've also got a vault within the bank itself. In terms of the evolution of the vault, again, we've got lots of plans in place over the next 12 months to go to Vault 2.0. And the vision is that, not only will you be able to store your Atom T's and C's and documentation, for example, but also, let's say, I'm going to share this example because it drives me crazy. So, insurance, car insurance.
Yeah.
So I don't get a bit of paper anymore. I get an email that reminds me it's due for renewal, and I forget. And then all of a sudden I'm like, right, okay, I need to make sure that I insure my car and go and get a new price. Oh, it just auto renews and I get ripped off with a really high price, right? Yeah. What if that email came through and I could send it to my vault, and then my vault could read the text and then could see that I need to go and get a quote. In the next 10 days or so, and it notifies me and says, right, okay, go get a quote somewhere. So, there's some really nice things that we could do with the vault, and again, based upon what drives customers nuts. And fundamentally, we just want it to be useful. Yeah. It might be you could store whatever you wanted there. I've got it's a digital bridge, I guess, between the analog and the digital world. It's a phrase that I've used. I've got a metal box under my bed that's got kind of pensions in there. And, again, it would be great if I could just, take a photo of those and send them to my vault, and then I've got all that information in one place.
So is that vault, I guess, app-wide, not just specific to that journey you've just been part of? So we just went through the offer acceptance hub, then we got into the vault, and all the documents there, are they from your kind of interactions with the entire app as a whole?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. For now. But that's, like I say, that's just the start. Vault 2.0 is something that we're working on.
Sweet. And then the second box you had to tick was some T's and C's again. And what you guys have done is something pretty cool, and something that we've had experience with is the breaking down of the T's and C's. What we're used to seeing is long list of T's and the entire terms and conditions fleshed out. How did you arrive at that particular breakdown of T's and C's?
Yeah, again, it's something called pyramid T's and C's, and we did a lot of work again with customers who said, look, I don't read them. It drives me nuts because they're just a big long list. If you make them really simple and easy to view, and allow me to expand those T's and C's and chunk them up, then I'm more likely to read them. So that's why they look the way they do.
And did you ever, because it's something we definitely had to battle with, did you ever have friction with compliance on what you needed to flesh out, what was allowed to be fleshed out?
No, because all the information, we haven't reduced the amount of information. Okay. We've just amended the way that customers view them, so they're more likely to read them. I guess if you ask 100 customers, do you ever read your T's and C's for when you update your Apple OS? I reckon 99 of them will probably say no. So it's just about how we visualize that information, which increases the propensity for them to go in and read the detail.
Okay, sweet. Something else I was interested about as well, because we've had the likes of Finamize on here before, and they've talked about having to, I guess, add an informative education layer on top of sort of just giving people news because of the demographic they particularly serve. So I'm interested to find it out. So there's terms that I saw there that I didn't know. So something like conveyancer. Is that something that you're finding that users just kind of know what that is because they're taking out a mortgage and these are kind of like I guess blanket mortgage terms you have to know, or is that something that users are finding hard and I guess
so it's interesting you pick out conveyancer because it's one of the only kind of banky type phrases that we've got in there. And I take your point. You could just say solicitor or something along those lines. It's not something that runs through the app. We like to pride ourselves on less banky speech and more plain English. We've never had anybody mention that actually but I think it's perhaps because people are going through that process anyway, and the term is probably used by the broker, perhaps. Exactly. But it's a really good point actually. I'll take that one away. It's a bit of a wordy phrase, isn't it? It's a wordy word. Just say solicitor or legals or something along those lines.
Sweet. I think that's the end of the journeys we've had for today. I guess finally we wanted to know, you talked a lot about where you started, where you currently are now. You've called this particular app somewhat of a springboard. Without going too much into particulars, what you are allowed to talk about, where are you going with this? What's next? What's on the horizon? What can we expect?
Yeah, so I've got to keep it a surprise.
Yeah, of course.
But the phrase I'll use is we will become a full service bank. That's why we were set up.
Yeah.
So I'm going to leave you to ponder where that might be going to next. But I'll just reiterate the point that we've got a really simple, what we think is beautiful, user-friendly app that our existing customers love. That was the key thing for me, which since we've launched it and they've given us their answer because they're rating it at 4.8 stars, and that's the main thing for me is we've got a bunch of fabulous existing customers and they really like it, and then it's about where do we go next. So it's exciting times at Atom, and it's on to the next thing.
No, thank you guys for being an example of what good customer-centric product should be like. But I think
inviting us, I've enjoyed it.
It's been a pleasure. So I think that's it for today. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Stop by next week for more insights and journeys. If you want to see more of 11FS Pulse, head over to pulse.11fs.com, where you can also request a demo. If you've got any questions about the product or want to suggest a journey for us to include on our platform or this show, hit us up, pulse@11fs.com, or find us on Twitter at 11FS Pulse. Michael, if people want to find out more about you and Atom Bank, and where can they go to find out?
Just go to atombank.co.uk. All the information you need is there. Or download the app.
Great, and we'll see you next week, guys. Take care.